is up, my friends? Welcome to Let It Be Heard. I am your host, Jaden Heard, where we are doers of the word, not hearers only. I am here with a very special guest of mine, Brilyn Hollyhand. Brilyn, it's so good to see you, bro. Also, War Eagle.
War Eagle, Jaden, this is awesome. This is the most exciting interview of the week because I get to, one, say War Eagle, and I, two, get to be with a friend. So I'm looking forward to this.
I love that, man. I've been loving what I've been seeing from you, and it's just kind of crazy, man, how things have been taking off for you. And of course, today we're going to be talking about mainly your book, Make America Talk Again, which I'm super excited to get into. But first, why don't you give a brief background on who you are, where you come from, and why do you love America so much, man? Why do you love America so much, man?
So I'm just this 20-year-old from Tuscaloosa that kept working hard. It started in the 4th grade. I started a podcast because I wanted to get some truth out there, and I feel like there were not enough Christian conservatives speaking loud from our generation. And I had a really cool guy take a chance on me. He was a mentor to you and I. His name was Charlie Kirk, and he was the first guest in that podcast. I couldn't get the city council members in town. I couldn't get the mayor in town, but Charlie came to debate on Alabama's campus, and he gave me a chance, and he came on, and that sparked a friendship that inspired the last decade of everything that I've gotten to do. I'm now a freshman at Auburn. I just finished my freshman year, and it's been crazy. And just knowing the rivalry, being from Tuscaloosa, going to Auburn makes me a little controversial. But I do controversial things for a living, so I'm pretty used to it now. But I really feel passionate about making sure that Christians are speaking out, that they're being bold, they're using their voice, and they're literally being what's commanded in the Bible, the salt and light of the earth. And that's what I try and strive to do every day. And the reason I love this country, the most important question you could probably ask this whole time, is because this is a Christian nation that was founded from the Mayflower Compact to today with Christian roots in it. And I know that there is definitely an assault on that every time we wake up. And I'll tell you one thing, we're not going to let this nation not be a Christian nation. So that's why I'm in the fight.
It's funny how you say you're from Tuscaloosa and you went to Auburn. So I born and raised in Auburn, Alabama, but I was always a Bama fan growing up.
Wow.
And I still am. I actually still am. But so at the Iron Bowl, and you know this better than anyone, Brilyn, Iron Bowl is crazy. But I was in the Auburn student section with Bama stuff on.
There you go. That takes some guts. I'm impressed.
Bro.
Wow. So I've been to every Iron Bowl since I was born. So 20 Iron Bowls now. And I've always worn crimson, just being in Tuscaloosa. Like, I would get, run out of town if I had anything else on. And this past time was my first year as a student, and it was at Auburn and Jordan Hare. And so I went and I got the bibs, and I had the Navy and Auburn colored bibs on. And I mean, it was electric. It was super fun. This year it's in Tuscaloosa, which means I get to have all of my Auburn buddies come stay with me in Tuscaloosa. So I'm excited. And you might have to come. It could be fun. Bama boy, I mean, it could have a little rivalry in the house. It could be fun.
Look, if there's an invite, I'm coming.
I would love that.
And how about this? I'll invite you to the cookout. You know what I'm saying?
Like, I would love that. That'd be fun.
Have you ever been invited to a black cookout, Brilyn?
Not yet, but I've got an invite now. So this is perfect.
Well, we got to get you in there, man. We got to get you in there. I got to teach you how to play spades. You know how to play spades?
No, but I bet you can teach me.
I got you. Well, let's get into it, man. First of all, I mean, you're coming out. You actually it actually just recently came out, literally like less than a week ago, right? Make America Talk Again, right? What inspired you to write Make America Talk Again, and why do you believe this message is essential, or why do you think it's urgent right now?
So I'll tell you a little story. It's the summer of 2024. We're gearing up for the RNC convention in Milwaukee, and I'm chairing the RNC's Youth Advisory Council. So I'm helping the Trump team with their youth outreach, and we're getting ready to go into like our Super Bowl, which is the convention. And we're sitting in a strategy meeting on a Zoom call. We're going through a panel of people, and we're coming up with themes for each night. So make America wealthy again, make America safe again, make America powerful again, all these different themes. And it gets to my turn on the Zoom call, and they said, Brilyn, what's your plan to save the country that we can put on the cue card for that night? And I said, Make America Talk Again. And everybody on the call laughed at me. And I was like, all right, like I get it. And so, we go through the next few months, win the White House, and I forgot completely about saying that. Like, it just, wasn't something that came up again. I thought it was rejected in the meeting and it would never have any use. And I guess about a year later, it's September 2025. I am a month into being an Auburn student, And to be honest with you, I was planning to take a step back from politics when I started college. I was not doing any speeches, very, very few interviews, and really was just trying to focus on classes, grades, living by myself for the first time, and hanging out with friends, and of course going to the football games. And it's September 9th of 2025. I'm on a Fox morning show, and at the very end, as we're going to commercial, they bring up, what do you think could heal the country right now? And just immediately off the top of my head, the first thing that was pulled back out was that phrase, "Make America Talk Again." It came back out. And I didn't think anything of it. I walked to class, had the backpack on. I'm running, I think, to Haley Center, actually, to make it to 8 a.m.
Oh,
You know,
boy.
the dreaded Haley Center. And,
Yeah.
and I'm about to make it in the door. My phone dings, and I look down, and it's a text from Charlie Kirk. And he said, "Hey, man, that Make America Talk Again line, you should really use more." And I was like, hey, like, I really appreciate it. Like, that means a lot. You have a million other things to do besides randomly watch me on a Fox morning show, but I so appreciate it. Good luck. I know you're starting your tour tomorrow. Like, we're praying for you. And he sent some verses back and forth, and we were, said some prayers for each other, and that was that. And
Wow.
I go to class and check in and start, the day. The next day, I'm walking out of an English class, and I get, the horrible news that shook everything. And I mean, everything was a blur for hours, for days, now into months. And I remember that first night. It's probably 3 or 4 a.m. and everything gets quiet for the first time. And I mean, I am just on the floor distraught. I'm mad at everybody. I'm angry at the world. I'm angry at God for taking Charlie. In my head, I can't reason why this would happen. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, in my mind, there's a million different ways that Charlie, could still be here and the Lord's will could be done. Like, I can think of different ways. But how selfish of me to tell the creator of the universe how to do his plan. Like, if I really trust God on a, Instagram bio or a t-shirt, then I need to trust God. And so I was like, well, who would I go to wisdom right now? I would typically call Charlie, and I can't. And I'm scrolling through our text, just reading through, because he would always send scripture. And our last one was that. You should use that line more, make America talk again. And so I took out a sticky note next to my nightstand, and I started writing out 10 ways to make the country talk again. I think it's going to be a tweet, an article, something like that. And I was like, these 10 things could be 10 chapters. And I was like, if our country talked more, my friend would still be alive. His 2 babies would have, a father that tucked him in at night. Erica would still have a husband. Our movement would still have a leader. And our nation would be a lot stronger if we could actually talk instead of assassinate, talk instead of rant. And I think that's the problem. Our first instinct when we disagree with somebody, Jaden, is to rant online, to scream in their face, to shoot them. It's not to sit down and have civil discourse, because we've been raised in a social media age. And so this book's to counter that narrative and hopefully make some ground.
That's really good. And it's funny that you say that we're in the social media age. It seems like today we have 100 more ways to communicate with each other
Yeah.
than we used to.
Yeah.
Yet there's less conversation happening. How did we get here?
So I think you and I were raised in a generation where we were told politics and faith are taboo. So you can't talk about politics or faith at the dinner table. You can't talk about politics or faith at church or in the classroom or out in public. You keep those opinions to yourself because you don't want to rock the boat. And we kept those opinions to ourselves. So when we started arguing with people, that was our instinct. We didn't know how to just talk to them. We never practiced it. Social media is the same thing. Social media is fueled off of clicks and likes and engagement. And none of it is civil, and none of it is discourse. And I think it's not designed for that. It's designed for the people with the most extreme opinion to make the most money, because that gets the most views. And I think that's dystopian, and I think it's gross that we can't just sit and use this tool to communicate as opposed to a weapon to divide each other. Just look at the 10 months since Charlie's passing. We have had more division on the right than I've ever seen in the decade that I've been in politics. I mean, we have ripped each other to shreds. And where were we 10 months ago? We were at a funeral mourning our friend, having a revival in a stadium, and I could have told you standing there, there's no way we don't win the midterms. All of us are united. All of us are mourning. We all have a clear mission. We see what we're up against. They literally just killed our friend. We all have something to pull us together, regardless of where you are on the conservative side. We're all together at this moment. And the Democrats didn't stop. They're building, as you've seen the socialists getting elected, they've built this whole time we've divided. To your point, as you said, the social media part's divided us. We got to figure out how to use it as a tool instead of a weapon.
It's funny that you say that, Brilyn. I thought the same thing. When they attempted to shoot, or actually they did shoot Donald Trump.
Yeah.
and barely missed by an inch. That the unification, I knew immediately. Okay, we got it. He's gonna win. Like that iconic fist in the air. It's over. Like how are you gonna beat that? You know what I'm saying? And selfishly, I had the same thought with Charlie. When Charlie unfortunately passed away, I was like, well, it's over. We're winning midterms, and you can forget about 28. We're definitely getting 28s because, like, you saw everyone come together, and then all of a sudden you see like Trump and Elon are really cool, because they had that whole divide before that, and then all of a sudden at Charlie's funeral, like everyone's just there, bro. Everyone, like literally everyone from all across the spectrum, and it really does pain me to see our coalition builder gone and so much division right now because and I feel like all this division happened based off of, and I'm sure you feel the same way, from all these conspiracy theories from Charlie's death, which are just ridiculous, but also just people not understanding that there's nuances to a lot of things, right? Which comes from not talking about this. My next question for you, Brilyn, is why is the ability to respectfully have conversation fundamental to the American experiment?
Well, it's how our nation was founded, and the Continental Congress was literally months that turned into years of our founding fathers. We think they all agreed because they ended up signing the same document that we all look at, but it was a lot of disagreement and a lot of debate before they got there. And I think that's what people need to understand. I'm not saying that debate is bad. I'm saying it's good. I'm saying we need to talk. We could have debate on the right about what's good and bad, what's extreme, what's not extreme, what needs to be in the Big Ten and what needs to be kicked to the curb. That's absolutely necessary and absolutely helpful and healthy. But this whole we're going to rip each other to shreds and attack each other instead of the left is a misguided and misconstrued attempt. And it's intentional because, again, it sells clicks. Our founding fathers thankfully realized that, as Lincoln said a century later, a house divided can't stand and a nation divided couldn't be started. And they all ganged together after a lot of revisions to form the nation that we're so lucky to live in 250 years later. How do we keep going from here? Well, our old founding fathers weren't just white guys that were up in age, as the pictures now portrayed. There were some young people like Alexander Hamilton and James Monroe and Aaron Burr that were there fighting this fight in this conversation, young patriots just like you and I. So, Jaden, if this country was founded by young patriots in this movement 250 years ago, it's not some crazy novel idea that young patriots should still be debating for the future of the country today, as hard and as countercultural as civil discourse might be.
How does your Christian worldview shape this idea of having conversations and maybe not viewing someone as an opponent, but rather a person made in the image of God?
It's a good question. So you debate on campuses, and you understand this as well. Every time somebody comes up to the microphone, every single time without fail, the very first thing I do is look at them, hey, nice to meet you, what's your name, a point of connection with them, where you're from, and then I try to make a compliment. And I'll say, hey, man, love that hat. That's a cool shirt. Oh, I love that sports team, too. It's something to humanize them in my eyes because I'm looking at a child of God. Regardless of what they're throwing at me, regardless of what expletives they're screaming, regardless of what they're about to ridicule me on, I want to have a moment to process that first. And also, hopefully, in their eyes, to, hey, I'm a human, too. We're both Americans. We both can have a conversation. Before you try to lunge at me, before you try to do whatever you're going to do, let's talk and just try to make this connection. I think that's a recommendation I make in the book. The other one is really simple. We're called specifically to be the hands and feet of Jesus in the Great Commission. And when it says to go to all the earth, to have these conversations, it doesn't just say go to like-minded people in that Matthew 28 chapter. It doesn't just say go to people that you know will be easy and comfortable conversations. It says go to the ends of the earth intentionally for the people across the street from you in your neighborhood that might disagree, the people you sit beside in Sunday school that you might disagree, the people, yes, on the other sides of the planet that you might disagree with, but also those right here that you think, oh, too uncomfortable to talk to them, don't want to rock the boat. If you'd like to see them in heaven one day, I say get past your differences and have a conversation with them because it's what we're commanded to do.
That's good. I have two questions for you, but I'll ask them one at a time because they're both kind of...
Yeah.
But based off that debate thing that you're talking about and how you talk to people, many people try to avoid these difficult conversations, Brilyn, and out of fear, right? They're too scared what their peers might think of them, or consequences at work, or maybe damaging family relationships. And there's eternal souls on the line. How can people overcome that fear?
So the very first thing that I tell people when they come up and they're like, how can I go have conversations, is have the courage to be booed. And every single time they look at me like, I'm sorry, what? Like, are you telling me that I'm going to be booed? Like, of course I'm not going to go out there then. And I say, no, I'm absolutely telling you you're going to be booed. It's probably the first thing that you're going to hear before you hear cheers. Have the courage to be booed and then keep going. Because you know that there's a lot of hate that comes with being in this business. If I stopped speaking every time I got a death threat, if I stopped going on interviews every time I got a hate comment, you would never see me. But if you continue to push past that, it's important. And here's a scripture that I share with them every time. Isaiah 6:8, one that Charlie quoted, one that I mentioned in the book, and there's an entire chapter about, is so fundamentally inspiring, at least to me when I debate, and hopefully to other people when they debate. It's the story of Isaiah, not some old wise Pharisee with a lot of experience and a long robe and a white beard, but just a young guy like us coming into a temple to pray. And all of a sudden there's this like big rush of angels, the voice of the Lord comes in, and you remember the question from Isaiah, whom shall I send? The Lord asked. And I don't know about you, Jaden, but if I was Isaiah in that situation, if I'm sitting there praying and all this happened, I would look around a little bit and be like, surely God is talking to somebody else, and I just got in the way of God and some old wise Pharisee behind me, but I'm going to let myself out of this conversation. I'm so sorry. That's what I would be doing, honestly. But that's not what he did. His response was, here I am, send me. He didn't say, here I am, send me if you make it comfortable, if you make it safe, if you make it easy, if you make sure I don't get booed. He said, here I am, send me. So to Christians out there looking to have conversations, know that going in, it's not going to be safe or easy or comfortable. Do it anyways because it's what we're commanded.
Bolstering that point even further, Brilyn, if you read further in the book of Isaiah, the Lord actually tells Isaiah that he will close the ears and eyes of those who hear the word preached by Isaiah. Like, he's telling Isaiah, they're not going to listen to you, but you need to go anyway, right? So that their condemnation can be just. And it's an interesting passage, that one is. And imagine Brilyn being told, hey, you're going to go to LSU, okay, Brilyn, and you're going to talk in front of 400, 500, 600 people in a classroom, and none of them are going to agree with you. Like, that's just, man, that's tough. After debating students on campus, I'm curious about this. What have you learned actually about what actually does change people's minds?
Not rhetoric, not talking points, certainly not screaming back at them, but trying to understand where they're coming from. So it, has to this point been so successful, at least so far, when I ask them, hey, like, why do you believe that socialism works? Why do you believe that abortion is health care? Why do you believe that a border wall is racist? And they start unpacking it, and they can't convince me, they don't have enough evidence or proof, but I kind of understand, like, this happened to them, or they've only heard this one side, or maybe this is the household or the school system that they grew up in, and that's all they know is what they're about to recite to you. They're going to give you their best talking points. So they kind of lay all their cards out for you right then. And it's really easy from that point to, one, dispute the top claims, and then to come back and be like, and now I want to share something with you. And then you give a personal attempt to them. Hey, I'm sorry that happened. Hey, I'm sorry this person said this, did that. I'm sorry that's the only thing you've ever heard. But I would like to share with you some truth. And then not go into, well, of course the border wall is the best thing ever because Donald Trump's the best thing ever. You go into let me systematically give you a little bit of evidence to, while the areas we built the border wall might have lower crime rates or, better housing rates for Gen Z because they're not being bombarded by some of the illegals that hop the fence. Having those to counter what they've heard as typically just feelings on their side helps a lot because you know this. They don't have good candidates on the left. They just have to run off of fear and feelings every single time. So how much can they scare you and how much can they hype you up with a Beyonce song is all they have on their side. And so it's fairly easy, as you've done well in debates as well, to kind of push that aside. But what is important to change their mind is not just to tear it down and push their idea aside, but then give them some facts to hold on to, some actual red meat, not just a feeling for them to walk out of there with.
Yeah, there's like this Christian rap song I like. I forgot what it's called, but it's by Syfy II. He says, I don't want to prove them wrong. I want to help them right it, right?
Oh, I like that.
And it's, I'm black, so we listen to some Christian rap. But I just like I've actually when I first heard that, I was like, man, like that really is so true. Like us, especially as Christians,
Yeah.
who are talking to humans. Like okay, like for example, there's a very popular debate right now between Muslims and Christians, right? And there's a lot of Christian debaters who will literally just try to get people to convert from Islam, right? Or just stop being Muslim, right?
Mm.
Good mission, keep doing it. That's cool because it's a false religion. But what good is that if they're just going to throw the whole thing away and they're not going to
Correct.
become Christian, right? The
Correct.
goal is to actually help right someone's wrong. So I definitely agree with you on that. What are some practical things that people can do, or maybe someone who's watching who wants to help make America talk again? What are some practical things that they can begin doing in their own family, on their campus, in their community, at their workplace, things like that?
Yeah, the biggest thing I tell people is to start small. As simple as you can think. It doesn't have to be running for office, it doesn't have to be a podcast, it doesn't even have to be a book. It can be as small as you can imagine. It means maybe in class, when your professor brings up a viewpoint that typically you would, close your mouth on and not speak out because you're afraid you're going to get a bad grade, speak out. Defend yourself. Defend your viewpoint. And the rest of the class might have some more courage the next time that happens. Maybe it's at the lunch table when an awkward conversation comes up that you're going to butt your way out of. Stay in the conversation. Continue talking with somebody. Guess what? If you leave the conversation disagreeing, so be it. You had a conversation with somebody. Like, that's progress. You didn't slap each other in the face. Nobody got assassinated. You talked to each other. And that's progress. And then from there, I would say keep going. A lot of people in the Christian community, as you've seen as well, are too afraid to touch politics. It's too dirty. This is a messy business. I don't want to get involved. It's complicated. And the number one group of people that didn't vote in the 2024 election was not Gen Z. We got out and voted. It was Christians who sat at home, who complained at the church on Sundays about the direction of the country, but had the opportunity on a Tuesday to change the course of the nation and sat at home. And so having conversations, even in those circumstances, you might agree on the morals and values, but they might say that I can't vote because, Trump's a terrible person and I don't want to be involved in that, or I just think politics is too messy. Those conversations also are a good starting ground because it's somebody you're comfortable with, it's somebody you know. It's a little bit more lighthearted than an extreme political issue with somebody on the far side of the other aisle. That's progress. And I think that's where you need to start. And I think you're going to see some success from that and be able to come back and be like, oh, I can carry a conversation other than a comment section on social media.
I love that. Speaking of, in the classroom, because you're talking about maybe
Yeah.
have you ever had like a confrontation with, have you had that confrontation with professors yet? I know it's your freshman year. 'Cause I've had a couple run-ins where,
Definitely.
but have you had to do that hard thing yet? I'm curious.
Definitely, yes. Okay, so I'll tell you one particular story. So it is my first day of class. We're in August of last year. I'm brand new at Auburn. I probably have not even learned how to use the washer and dryer at my new apartment yet. I definitely haven't run the dishwasher. Like, I might not have completely unpacked. I mean, I'm brand new in Auburn. And I am trying to make connections with people and meet these teachers, okay? I thought this was an innocent thing to go do. Apparently not. And I'm like, I'm not going to stand on the line at the end of this history lecture to wait for this guy and suck up to him, and he's probably heard, 400 other people today say, hi, my name is. I'm going to stand out and make a point. So he said, come to his office hours if you ever want to chat. Well, I knew that nobody else was going to this guy's office hours that we didn't know, and there were no questions to ask him because we hadn't even got the syllabus yet until the next class. And so I'm like, I'm going to go to his office hours. He's just going to be sitting there. This will be great. We're going to be best friends. I'm a history nerd. He's a history professor. We could spend hours together. This could be so great, Jaden. This is my naive self coming in. I'm like, this is going to be, I found a new friend. This is great. And so I'm sitting there outside his office hours when they go to start, and I walk in, and I didn't realize how offensive I was, Jaden. I sit down at his desk, and I introduce myself, shake his hand, and he's not talking. He's just staring at me. And I was looking around. I'm like, I'm sorry, is something wrong? And he was like, your shirt. And I looked down, and it said Christ is King on it. And I said, I'm sorry, what's the problem? And he was like, you're one of those Christians. And I said, yes, sir. Yeah, proudly. And he said, you mean you're going to sit in my class as a Bible-thumping Christian? And I said, yes, sir. And I'm kind of thinking through, like, what's going on here? Like, I thought at this point we were going to be like bros and be talking history. And he's like, you're not going to be a Christian by the end of this class. Like, once you start hearing a different worldview and you understand history from this lens, you're not going to be a Christian. And I remember sitting there for the next probably 30 minutes talking through with him my testimony, my faith, explaining my journey to Christianity, explaining to him how I vehemently disagreed with him, that not just his take and his hot opinion on history was going to change my viewpoint. And I walked out of there thinking, wow, there are some professors in this world that come into that with the intention, just like he said, of you're certainly not going to be a Christian when you leave my class. And what if it was not a strong Christian? Or what if it was somebody that was a new Christian and comes in that class and hears some of that and leaves and is like, one, not welcome, two, how scary, and they might just crumble under that. And I think that's a flaw and a problem. And I've certainly been speaking out against him a little bit lately, we'll just say. So,
Bro, that's crazy. That sounds like the professor from God's Not Dead. You ever seen that?
I haven't.
I thought that was okay. Well, I think to be fair, I think they over exaggerate a little bit. Like, I'm like, there's no way professors actually act like this. Like, basically, the professor was tripping. This God's Not Dead is basically he had his students.
The song, like the song God's Not Dead?
Well, there's the song, but the song comes from the movie.
Oh, okay.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's a soundtrack. Yeah,
nice.
It's a little cringe. It's older, but and it's low product. But look, it's a Christian movie, so I'm not gonna judge too hard. But in the movie, the professor like says that they have to write down that God is dead or something like that, and I'm just like, and the professor's like evil, like he's horrible, like he's like this Reddit atheist basically is what he is, and. I'm just like, I mean, I don't think professors are actually acting like that. But now that you said that, that's crazy to me, you just described.
There was a student at our Ole Miss meet and greet that came up and was saying something about how hard his workload was. And I was like, yeah, like, like what's been you? And he was like, well, every time I turn in an essay, I'm having to do it twice. And I was like, why would you do that? And he was like, well, I write it first, and then I go back and I rewrite it as a liberal. So I put my first opinion, but the second edit through, I change everything to sound a little bit more liberal, and that way I get a better grade from my liberal professor. I found the cheat code. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like some of these people, and again, SEC schools. We're not like up north or anything in an Ivy League.
Yeah, this is SEC. That's odd too. I don't think that's legal. So maybe if he can get some real proof on that, there can be some consequences. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're working on something, and I'm trying. You don't want to. I don't know. But yeah, Brilyn, I have one more question for you as far as the book goes. Here it is. What do you hope America looks like if people take the message of this book seriously?
I hope we could live in a country where we don't have to fear political assassination when debating on a college campus. I got really frustrated with my team one day early on in the campus debates last semester. We did 10, and it was probably the first one. And we're sitting, I think, at the University of Arkansas in a holding pattern because some of the security threats that our team had flagged. And they were like, yeah, like we're not sure if we're going to be able to pull this off or get you out there, secure it, quick enough. And I'm sitting there and I look at everybody and I kind of throw my hands up. And I was like, what is wrong with the world? Like, what do you mean I can't walk out to a microphone as a college kid and have another college kid walk up to another microphone and we just talk? Like, nobody's giving a speech. Nobody is having a rally. We just want to talk. I don't have a red hat on. I'm not trying to bring them to a voter registration drive. I just want to understand where they come from, share where I come from, and see if we can find common ground. That's it. So I hope that from this book, from conversations that spiral from this, we can grow up in a world and then raise our children or grandchildren in a world where they can have debates on campuses, not at a fancy one, just more casual. Because it would be more casual. It would be normal to talk in your class, normal to talk with your professor, normal to talk at the dining hall, and not have to fear looking over your shoulder for a sniper that's going to take you out.
Ron, I had the same frustration when I went. And I'm not trying to say I'm nobody, but I mean, I don't have 100, 300, 400,000 followers. I have 8,000 followers. I only have 10K. Okay? And yet, when I go to Auburn to do a Prove Me Wrong, Auburn, an SEC school.
I watched you. You did really
Auburn,
good.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay, Alabama.
Yeah, of all places.
they're telling me, yeah, like we don't know Jaden, but and I'm frustrated. And they ended up having two guys at the top of Jaden Heard looking down at the green space. We had a drone going around. They K9'd the whole green space and the whole area by the student center beforehand for any bombs. And we had police, we had Auburn PD, and we had campus security on campus that day. So I'm just like, this is crazy. And I'm just some random, I'm not nobody, but I'm not, I don't have motion like that. And I have to worry about all this. And I actually was a little like worried. There was two individuals that I remember interacting with on campus a couple years prior when I was a student. And I was actually worried that they would show up that day and do something to me, because I'm just like those dudes were off their rocker, and I was only a student then, and I was afraid that the bro was going to shoot up the whole campus. Yeah. Based on because we would table sometimes with Turning Point, and he would show up and act crazy, and there's no telling what these people would do now, Brilyn. And so it's crazy that we've reached this point. And Charlie actually said this years ago, and I'm sure you've seen this clip, but he said that bad things happen when people stop talking to each other. Yep. Right? You know that clip where he's sitting at the table.
It was the first clip I ever saw of Charlie. He's wearing that ice hat, and he's sitting at the table, and it's a vertical video. I'll never forget it. And he's sitting there, and it's like he just has a fold-out table. He might have been with Anna Paulina Luna, I think, and it was like one of the very first ever Charlie Kirk clips I ever saw, 2017, 2018.
Yep. Yeah, and which shows you how far it's come. But I mean that he said it perfectly then. Bad things happen when people stop talking, and that's why I agree with you, Brilyn. We need to make America talk again, and it's crazy that we've reached to a point to where it's not only tolerated, but it's celebrated to kill people who disagree with you. If we're being honest,
disgusting. And how are we supposed to raise kids in a world where we look out and say, "Yep, this is normal"? Political assassinations used to happen in the 60s. They randomly came back in 2025 because a young guy named Charlie Kirk was being so effective that they could not work him. They had to kill him. So get used to this now. Anytime you say something that they disagree with, they have the right to kill you, and not only the right, but expect them to celebrate it.
That's right. We'll have two hard questions for you, Brilyn. You ready?
I'm ready.
The first one is people. This isn't like. It's not like a gotcha question. It's more like people just don't usually think about it. So
sure.
My first question for you is, what's your favorite Bible verse, and how do you apply it to your life?
So mine is 1 Timothy 4:12, and it's don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set the example for the believers in love and speech and conduct and faith and in purity. And I think that is the verse that helped me when I got my start. You probably still get this. I definitely still get this today. People that are like, hey, you're too young. Hey, wait your turn. Hey, grow some facial hair, get a little bit taller, lose your baby fat before you get involved. It's happened 2 or 3 times, I think, already today, and it's like 3 o'clock. But it especially happened to the 4th grader that just wanted to get involved in a business to clean it up a little bit. And I remember like being so upset and couldn't figure out why God would put a calling like this on my heart to start a podcast in politics, and there wouldn't be doors opening, or I would be looked down on just because I was young. And I remember somebody showing me this verse, and so this whole time I've carried that with me. Every time somebody says you're too young, I look at Scripture, and it literally calls the young to be the ones to motivate and inspire, and sometimes even mentor the old who might be a little misguided. And I think that's what this entire youth movement can champion right now.
That's good, Brilyn. And then this next question, it's not that hard, but usually people don't really have one off the top of their head, so I can give you some time to think if you want.
Yeah.
But what's like something that you believe that's super controversial or fringe that isn't like in the typical GOP platform? Like, I want to hear it, dude. Like, I just want to hear something that I just don't know. And it could be something that you've never said. It could be whatever.
Okay. I don't think I've said that I think we should have term limits, which I definitely stand by. And I think that the Founding Fathers were near perfect somehow predicting what would happen 250 years later. And they predicted a lot of things. They didn't predict that people would get drunk on power, because they were so closely removed from seeing the worst of power with the reign of Britain that they thought nobody could ever stay in here too long, that we're all going to ceremonially step away after 2 terms. So I definitely think that. I think that we could change how long Congress members serve from 2 years to 4 years. Because I think that 2 years actually, one's too short. Two, it actually causes some ethics problems because they're home so much. This is why we have recesses in Congress. They're home so much fundraising because the second they get inaugurated, they're running again. Campaigns are 2 years. So the Senate, at least they get some time with their 6 years, but Congress sits there for 2 years campaigning the whole time they're supposed to be working, and then we complain and we're like, why has none of our congressmen got anything done? Because they're back home begging for money because they got to run again. And so I think that should be a problem. So make that 4 years to take away some of the problem of them always having to beg for money and then be beholden to the people they take the money from. Give some gap from being off the campaign trail like the Senate gets. So maybe a 4-year congressional term, keep a 6-year Senate term, but cap both at 2 terms each. Because the Founding Fathers' intention was you set rules in place that you're going to go live under. And too many, almost all, of the people in D.C. set the rules, but stay in D.C. so they can live by a different set of rules and never, ever, ever come home until they die in office or finally retire after they've been wheeled around and their staff voted for them. So that would probably be mine.
That's actually really cool. Like, I actually really agree with that. I don't think I've thought about, especially
that's my little nerdy, that's where I can go off on tangents. But
yeah, no, that's good. Well, Brian, I don't want to keep you too long. Where can people find you, and what would be your final words to people? And where can people find your book, of course, too?
I'm all across social media, just at Brilyn Hollyhand. Wherever there's a social media connection, we are. We try to hit all the apps. There's a lot of hot takes there, and we have a lot of fun. And we'll be on the campus debates near you very soon, so we hope to see you at a campus. If you want the book, Make America Talk Again, Amazon right now. You can pick up your copy or wherever books are sold. And my final word to you would be really simple. When you heard me share the Isaiah 6:8 verse, here I am, send me.
Hey, bro.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think it cut off on our ends. I think we lost our internet here in this hotel.
That's okay. Well, how about this? I'm going to just let you talk into the mic.
Can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're speaking into my mic, so you can just finish off your... I'll just keep all this in the video. I think it'd be so funny.
That's so funny.
So just...
We're in a New York hotel, and as you can imagine, the Wi-Fi is buns because Mamdani can't pay his bills. So.
There you go. Yeah, he's too busy trying to freeze rent. He just froze everybody's Wi-Fi.
Correct.
So,
and he screwed up the Jaden Heard show, so we need to send the complaints.
Yeah, I hope that all your
footage
uploaded.
Before Mamdani censored us was when I said Isaiah 6:8, here I am, send me. Think in the audience of where you're being sent, whether that's into politics, start a podcast, write a book, speak on campus, or maybe it's just talk in your class or say something to that friend that you've never said something before. You have that opportunity to be sent, and not only the opportunity, but that's what you've been commanded to do. And so don't click off of the episode just to go watch another fun YouTube video. Think of that and let that sit with you.
That's good. Well, Brilyn, thank you for being on the show, man. I hope everything works out with y'all. And yeah, God bless you, bro. I appreciate you again.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you at Auburn soon, and I will have to be at that tailgate with you. It'll be fun.
Yeah, let's do it, bro. All right, man.
Thank you.
Take it easy. War Eagle. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, thank you guys for watching. That was so funny. We'll catch you guys next time. If you have not yet, please hit subscribe, hit that like button, and follow me on all social media. Just, Instagram, Jaden Heard, TikTok, not Jaden Heard, X, Jaden_Heard. And yeah, God bless you guys. Take it easy.